collapsed at work. One moment I was standing, papers in my hand, the hum of printers and keyboards filling the air. The next, I was on the cold office tiles. My vision fractured into bursts of light, fluorescent bulbs blinding me while a ring of faces closed in. Their voices blurred, shouting my name, urging me to stay awake, but my tongue felt locked inside my throat. My chest rose in shallow jerks, and every second felt like slipping deeper underwater. When the paramedics arrived, strapping me to the stretcher, I used what little breath I had to whisper my wife's number. My lips barely formed the words, but I trusted they would call her. She was supposed to be my person, the one who'd come running. They promised me she would be notified, but she never came. Hours later, while machines hissed at my bedside and wires fed into my arms, my phone buzzed against the table. I thought maybe, finally, it was her. But when the screen lit up, it wasn't a message of worry. Not even a simple, "Are you okay?" It was a tag. Photo. Her sister, surrounded by smiles and wine glasses, holding the camera high. And the caption burned into me harder than any needle. Family day without the drama. I stared at those words until the monitor beside me screamed in alarm. Nurses rushed over, pressing buttons, adjusting tubes, telling me to calm down, to breathe. But they didn't understand. I wasn't choking on air. I was choking on betrayal. I said nothing. Not to them. Not to her. Silence built a wall around me. It was my only shield. We had married young, too young maybe, but I thought I'd found what others only dreamed of. A partner, a safe harbor. She used to laugh at my worst jokes until her face turned red. She kissed me like I was the only man who ever existed. And I gave her everything, my paycheck, my trust, my future. She never had to ask twice. But people don't change in a single night. They corrode little by little, like metal left in the rain. I should have noticed the signs. The sudden evenings spent at her father's house. The secretive texts that stopped when I walked into the room. The glances that lingered not with love, but with annoyance, like I had somehow turned from her husband into her burden. Still I ignored it. I loved her enough for both of us. At least I thought I did. Then my collapse happened. And with it came clarity sharper than a blade. You can measure love in many ways, but the truest test is this. Who runs toward you when you're at your weakest? She didn't run. She raised a glass. Days later, I woke again in the hospital, weaker than ever, my arm covered in tape where needles dug in. My throat was dry, but my phone screen glowed. 44 missed calls. Name. Her father's name. Again and again. Then one text, short, sharp, and cold. "We need you. Answer immediately." Need. That single word twisted inside me until I laughed so hard my ribs ached against the tubes. They hadn't needed me when my lungs were failing. When my heart slowed. When my body fought for every second of life. Then I was disposable. Now suddenly they needed me. Not my health, not my presence, no. They needed what I carried. And in that bitter moment, I realized I wasn't powerless. I had access to everything. The bank accounts, the property deeds, the contracts and business documents her father had begged me to sign as a co-owner. Their empire, their wealth, their pride. All of it had my name stamped across its foundation. And while they had forgotten, I had not. So I played my role a little longer. The weak man, the silent man. I let their messages pile up unanswered while my body healed. My mind, though, grew sharper with every passing night. When nurses believed I slept, I whispered into the phone, speaking with lawyers whose expertise wasn't loud revenge, but quiet devastation. They knew the art of freezing assets, shifting ownership, unraveling signatures with surgical precision. This wasn't anger. Anger fades too quickly. No, this was colder. Calculated. Patient. I wanted them to feel exactly what I had felt. Abandoned. Helpless. Stripped of control. So one by one I pressed the guillotine. Counts frozen. Properties shifted. Credit cards cancelled. Every move airtight, legal, unshakable. A slow, quiet collapse of their empire with nothing more than ink and law. The day I was discharged, I didn't drive home. I walked into the bank. Papers in my hand. The manager read them, nodded, and stamped. And just like that, everything tied to my name belonged to me alone. By the time the sun dipped below the skyline, their empire was mine, and their kingdom was dust. I didn't even need to raise my voice. Still I kept silent. Let them sweat. Let them drown in unanswered calls. A week later the confrontation came. I agreed to meet them at her father's house. Not because I owed them that courtesy, but because I wanted to see their faces when the truth hit. When I arrived, it was everything I expected. My wife, her makeup smudged from tears she thought would move me. Her hands trembled against the armrest. Her father, once towering with arrogance, now hunched forward, sweat bleeding through his expensive shirt. "Why didn't you answer us?" she snapped, her voice cracking under the strain. I sat back, calm, colder than the glass of water I sipped slowly before answering. Because I was waiting for this moment. Her father's hand slammed the table so hard it rattled. "You ruined us. Do you even know what you've done?" I leaned forward, met his eyes, and spoke without hesitation. "Yes, I know exactly what I've done." I laid out the details for them. The transfers, the frozen accounts, the clauses they never bothered to read. Every document they once begged me to sign had become the blade I now held at their throats. My wife's face drained pale. "You can't do this. Not to family." The word hung in the air, bitter and hollow. I set the glass down with care and answered, each syllable sharp. "Family doesn't leave you to die in a hospital bed." The silence that followed was more satisfying than any shouted victory. It was heavy, crushing, filled with the weight of truth they could no longer escape. They weren't broken because they had lost me. They were broken because they had lost control. Her father tried bargaining, his voice cracking in desperation. My wife tried tears, her sobs echoing in the room. But their weapons slid off me like rain on stone. Finally I stood. My chair scraped the floor. I looked at them, two broken figures sitting in a house that no longer belonged to them. "You raised your glass without me," I said quietly. "Keep drinking. But from now on, don't toast with money that isn't yours." And then I walked out, leaving their empire in ruins behind me. Now, when I look back, I don't see tragedy. I see liberation. They showed me who they truly were, and I showed them what I could become. Betrayal didn't break me. Carved me into something sharper, stronger. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't a scream or a fight. It's silence. A silence that echoes so loudly it drowns out every other sound.